Hey everybody, Jimmy Warren. Welcome to this brand new episode of Band Business. Now, this is a show where we talk about all the aspects of what it takes from a business perspective to be a band. We deal with all the hard topics such as lawyers and contracts and copyright and distribution and touring and accountants and oh my God, our head's going to explode. But there's so many things that go into making your band a business or to having your band function as a business. All the ins and outs that you need to know. Because it amazes me sometimes how much information people don't have. Or if they do have it, they don't know what to do with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to provide you practical information that you can use every day with your band in order to function more legitimately and more properly. And my God, you want all your money, right? You want to go as far as you can, get the most out of everything that you possibly can. You don't want to get screwed somewhere down the line because you made the mistake by not knowing something, So we want to help provide that information, and you can put this stuff to work in your band or in your solo career right now. Now, before we get into it, make sure you're following us, subscribing, and liking our page here because we really appreciate it. We want to keep bringing you great content. Now, today I've got a guest, somebody that I've been working with for the past few years on my podcast, Guitar Talk. His name is Tom George, and he owns a company called Tag Publicity. Of course, as you can tell, he's a publicist, and he's worked with really great artists like Doyle from the Misfits, Neil Sean from Journey, Blacktop Mojo, and just a ton of other artists and groups, and literally a ton. I mean, if you were to take all these guys and put them on a scale, it would probably be a ton, or pretty close to it. But he's going to talk with us about, when do you need a publicist? What is a publicist? Answer all the questions about what they do, how they do it, why it's necessary, when you're going to, have to jump into the weeds with one, what's it going to cost, and all that other kind of stuff, because you need to know the benefits of a publicist and when you need to use one and when you don't, because it amazes me sometimes that a band will get ready to do a release and put out an album. They'll spend the money to go into the studio and put everything together, right, to get it right. They'll spend money on the artwork. They'll spend money on the things that they need to do in order to make that album. But yet when it comes time to release that album, the only thing they do is upload it through CD Baby or some TuneCore or Songcast or whatever it is. And next thing you know, the album's out there and nothing's really going on with it. Nobody really knows about it except for your inner circle or your little, your sphere of influence, whatever that might be. And it doesn't get radio play. It doesn't get the reviews. It doesn't get the coverage that it needs. You don't get on Guitar Talk with me. There's a lot of things that don't happen. So, that's always a huge mistake in that. And so, I'm a firm believer in using a publicist, not just for releases or events, but touring, to have somebody that's going before you, that's setting up interviews, that's got photographers coming, people coming to interview and all that kind of stuff. And so, man, it's much needed. It's a really great topic. You're going to get a lot out of this. Hopefully this is going to be the information that you need if this is for you right now. If not, you definitely want to save the video or save the podcast so that you can come back to it when it's the right time for you. So let's just jump right in it. Here's Tom George from Tag Publicity right here on Band Business. Give it a tilt.
Yeah. That good?
Yeah, you're good, man.
Hey, how you doing? Nice
I'm
to
good, man.
meet you through Zoom.
Yeah, there we go. I know a lot of emails fly back and forth, but this is nice to put a face
Yeah.
to a name and a conversation, and that's really, I appreciate you doing this. I've got so many friends in the industry that won't touch an interview with a 10-foot pole
Yeah. Yeah.
simply because they don't want nobody to know who they are.
Right.
And, so if that's an issue, I'll be more than happy to, block your name out and,
Oh
do whatever
no,
you want.
I'm fine.
Okay.
I don't do too many just because I I'm a
Yeah.
publicist. but
Right, 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 right.
but I love your interviews, so I absolutely wanted to do this one.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. And the new podcast is centered around the business aspect of being a band. And I personally believe that, publicity, and marketing and that is, a high priority in order to achieve the right kind of success,
Right.
for people to
Yes.
know about you and that. And so, I've always had a publicist. I've always used a publicist. I think that, it's definitely something that's needed. So this is really cool because you work with a lot of great bands. You've been around a long time. So if you don't mind, I'd like to pick your brain a little bit and find out what made you fall into, being a publicist. I mean, is there a calling there or what is it?
It's a long story. I went to a music college called Music Tech in Minneapolis. I wanted to be a rock star, of course.
Yeah.
That didn't pan out. So I ended up working at Sam Goody, which is long since gone, but
Yeah.
managing record stores for years. So I learned just a ton about music, and I always suggested new music to people, So anyway, that led to a job where I started signing unsigned bands to sponsorship deals. His company was called True Anthem, and it was like this free download is brought to you by Old Navy, and they would attach it to the beginning of the song, and the artist would get paid for it, which was great. But that business model didn't work out. So then I had met all these unsigned bands, and I decided, well, I might as well, try this out because it's the one job in the industry where you can be nice to people, you know. And really, it's not any different than what I did at Sam Goody, except for it's individual bands as opposed to an entire record store full of music, So
Right.
so
Right.
yeah.
And, and
Um,
so and so has it felt like it's taken a lifetime to get to the place to where you have all the correct relationships that you need and
yeah, yeah.
all the understanding that you have, or is it something that you feel like you got kind of quickly?
I got a lucky break when I started doing PR. I did a good job, and I met up with I can't remember. Oh, a guy I worked with knew Wayne Static's manager, and Wayne Static was looking for a publicist, and Wayne and this manager who his name is Rob McDermott. He used to manage Lincoln Park, and they gave me a chance to do it, and that was where it just kind of, people. If you have an artist like that, you get more credibility.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I've never been trying to find necessarily working with bigger artists. I do work with some bigger artists, but the main thing that I like to do is find bands that people don't necessarily know yet and develop them. Much like the band Blacktop Mojo. I've been working with them for like 6 years now, or whatever it is, and they started out. I saw somebody sent me a video, and I was like, oh, this is so good. Their cover of Dream On, and I
Yeah.
remember it was at like 300,000 views, which is good at that point. And now, like 6 years later, I think it's like 22 million views, something crazy like that. And
Yeah.
it's all just awareness, like consistency and awareness and touring, and it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. So
Yeah. Now the I would think that the publicity game has changed somewhat over the span of time that you've been doing it, because of course at one point in time there was no internet,
Yeah.
there was no, and so since that's come into play, how has the dynamic changed? Or would you say that it's still really relational?
Uh, well, I never had the experience of pre-internet PR, so
Okay.
I looked out there. But as far as relationships go, to me, I'm nice to everybody. Like if if I have to be a jerk to you, you've really push the buttons. It doesn't happen very often. I can probably count it on one hand. The bad experiences I've had. But to me, it's like I realize that everybody that's doing this, most of these people are doing it just out of love for it. So every time they're doing something, they're doing me a favor, so I just appreciate that, and I'll get them whatever they need, in a timely manner. I
Yeah.
respond to emails. I've never blow off emails. I've never, I try to answer every single email, which is, it's a lot of work, but, you just have to want to do it. So,
Right. Well, you've got a pretty extensive roster though. You work with a lot of artists, a lot of bands.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's mainly word of mouth, honestly. And our the big ones that I worked with. My biggest is Neil Sean A Journey,
Yeah.
which is how did I get that one? A lot of people ask me that. So I worked with a band from Florida, an industrial band, and I did a campaign for him, and it was awesome. So it turns out that the manager of that band was the head of security for Journey, and Neil was looking for a publicist. And here I am 7 years later, having worked with him.
Yeah.
Uh, just the people we've met and things are it's crazy. So I've seen it from that angle, and then I also worked with Doyle the Misfits, which is a lot of fun. I mean, uh, but uh, but mainly I'm really focusing on finding new bands, that are on the like right now, Bloody Wood is the big one from India. That band's about ready to blow.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
So how much of your time would you say is spent, researching? Because I do the same thing.
yeah,
I mean, although I might have, somebody like Neil Sean or Steve Vai or somebody like that on my guitar talk show,
right,
and that I'm always looking for. I appreciate it when a guy like you sends me Joyous Wolf or Dusty Grant, or
yeah,
you know what I mean, is
right,
something off the wall like that, because I'm always on YouTube myself, hunting
mhm.
down
Yeah,
band guitar.
oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, a lot of times on Facebook, you'll see that I post like, "Hey, like what band where you live is opening bigger shows?" And then I get a bunch of people telling me like who I should check out, or just like what are the best unsigned bands out there. And then a lot of it is where I've been finding bands lately is this. There's this Facebook group called New Wave of Classic Rock, and it's like everything I grew up. I'm Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses kid.
Mm.
And bands. I'm working with bands like LA Maybe right now that are on the verge of they just played in the UK and did a couple festivals, and people loved it. Like
Yeah.
it feels so good to know that I'm not the only one that feels that way.
Yeah.
You're just trying to get people to listen, and that's the hardest part. If you get them to listen, then they can decide for themselves. So
Yeah. There's a lot of really great young bands out there right now. It seems to me, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems like, especially when you're talking about just in rock or hard rock, let's go that far.
mhm,
There's so many bands, when you really stop, you got East of Eden, you got DeWolf in Denmark. Man, what a great band they are.
mhm.
There's so many bands like that are just popping up, and before you know it, it's like, man, the world's full with good rock bands again, because there for a
Mhm.
while there was no guitar in anything,
Yeah, right. That's for sure.
which
Yeah,
drove me
no,
crazy.
I grew up on guitar solos. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, but you know, music is good. To me, it's more about the song than it is anything. But being a guitar player, I
mm,
mean, I'm always drawn to, you know, the flashy guitar licks and or just
yeah,
melodies. You know, it's funny. Probably my favorite solo of all time is "Mama, I'm Coming Home" by uh, Zach Wild. It's a simple solo, but he just nails it. I mean,
yeah.
it's, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, no, I always looking for music, and you know, it never ends. You know, I'm always on
Yeah.
YouTube.
No, no. Would you say that there's a time when a band needs a publicist, and then there's a time when they don't?
Yeah, I would say that they should have their ducks in a row before they do it. Like, just, you know, have good photos. Some kind of visual content is important. I mean, you can do it without, but anything visual does better. So that, and you know, just have a plan in place. But that's the thing, that they can come to us and we can help them build that plan. Not only that, introduce them to people in the industry that they need to, you know, build their content and stuff. So yeah, it's I'd say that after you've done that, and I don't necessarily even think it's a numbers thing. If a song is good, they should send it out in the world, because you never know when it's going to just blow, you know, like
Yeah,
especially with like the right cover, or, you know, if you're trying to just get your foot in the door, you know. But there are ways that you can get a lot of views. A couple bands I'm working with right now, Above Snakes and Eternal Frequency, they both have made a name for themselves on this YouTube channel called Space Untravel, which I love. You basically you upload it there, and they're getting like just a ton of views, like of new people that, you know, you wouldn't find. And people are always like stuck on getting premieres with these bigger blogs. Well, it's very unlikely to do that when you're an emerging artist. But
yeah.
so you try to find alternate things like that. And honestly, Space and Travel, you get more traction than Rolling Stone or Billboard. You know,
Yeah.
and I can actually get that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there it seems like there's, yeah, there is quite a few, and that's the thing. When you're an artist, when you're a musician or a band, and you're sitting back and okay, now you got an album or you got a single, let's say,
Hmm.
you know, and you want to get that out there. I mean, it could be oh my God, it can be really difficult because there's
Yeah.
so many places, so many out. Because most guys ask me, because I'm like you know, I get hundreds of emails every single week through Guitar
Hmm.
Talk, people asking all kinds of questions about, you know, these types of topics,
Hmm.
and there's so many options out there. I mean, where does a guy even begin? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, is it best to reach out to somebody like yourself and have an initial conversation to discover, you know, what's really going to be the right thing for you, or is it, you
Yeah.
know, or should they, you know, just try to hack their way through it? Is what most
Well, for
people
us,
do.
for us, anytime somebody approaches me, I'll always take a call as long as I like the music. A lot of times I'll get like genres that I just couldn't do, like I because you it takes. I mean, I'm over 10 years into this, and you know, I built it for rock, and because that's what I like, you know, like I like other genres too, but I just don't have the right context for it, you know.
Mhm.
And but yeah, what I always do, I go into calls with no expectations always, like just people can ask me questions and stuff. Sometimes even if they don't hire me, I still help them, you know, like just because it's fun. You know,
Yeah.
like, I do that all the time. You know, like there's a band right now that I'm not working with them, but I'm trying to find opportunities for them because I know they're gonna blow. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's a lot of fun.
But you know what? That's a smart move, because you never know how that's going to come back around or if it'll come back, because that might lead to another relationship that could be really good for you, or it could turn around and they could come back to you and use you as well. I'm a personal believer in that, in helping anybody that you possibly can. I
Yes,
mean, it's because this industry will eat you up
yes,
if you don't know what you're doing. You
yeah.
know, it
I'm
will eat you
also
up.
a firm believer that if people are rude and negative and stuff, I just don't work with them.
Yeah.
Uh, no matter who they are. I mean, because it's just not worth it. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that aren't that way.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you know what? And that's the same thing I tell people when they're putting their bands together. And so you got to work with people that you enjoy working with, that you enjoy
Right.
being around, that you can hold a conversation with and enjoy it,
Yes.
as opposed to, it being a constant push pull struggle, to get something done, because that doesn't benefit anybody really.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how if you're just nice to people and help them out when you can,
Yeah.
um, people return favors. You know, like and with me, like a lot of these bands. I mean, there's a lot of bands we've worked with that have gone on to sign record deals and stuff. I pretty much kind of have to hand them off to the labels at that point. But at the same time, I've become friends with them through the years. So you never know when a tour is going to need a support band or they need a press on a tour. I'm always happy to work with people, down the road, even if I'm not working with them right away.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the various areas of publicity, because I know that there's different aspects to it. You've got publicity in the sense to where you're submitting the bands to like blogs and magazines and
Hmm.
newspapers and all that kind of stuff. And then you got publicity in the sense of, okay, I'm going to get you a guest spot on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon.
Hmm.
And then you've got tour publicity, so that there's press in each community, and that
Hmm.
it really is kind of vast in that.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in tour publicity.
Hmm.
I think that that's really, really important, because a band can't. I mean, they can try to do it on their own, but it's really, really difficult when you're
Yeah.
trying to do a tour.
Yeah. You have to know the markets and you have to know people.
Yeah.
Like, and so when I pitch, I've got a list for like if somebody plays Oklahoma City, I've got a list right there and I hit everybody there a couple times. And if they can go, then we put them on the guest list. To me, I've always thought for bands that tour, I think tour press is probably the most important because of all the photos that you can get that you can
Mhm.
use because what's that? Oh, yeah, and they sell more merch. Sorry, my wife, the Tracy, who was also a publicist, whispered
Right.
to me. But yeah, no, they definitely sell more merch and records and whatever. But I think that's really helped. Like when Doyle goes out on tour, for example, I think I set up like 80 things for him on his tour. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. His photos are everywhere,
Yeah.
like and you can tell because it impacts his draw and merch and stuff, and that's what it's all about. So
Yeah, yeah, and so, but at the other time too, if somebody's going to put out a video, or they're going to put
mhm.
out a single or an EP or whatever it is, I mean, it's important as well
Yeah.
that
Oh yes.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah, with that it's um you send it out into the world and then how we do it is we've got a list of people that we work with on a regular basis. So we always follow up with those people. I don't waste time on blogs that I'm not gonna get. Like if somebody posts, it's always a nice surprise from some of those blogs.
Yeah.
But we have just a great network of people, and honestly, like all of our campaigns are successful. They have been for a while, because Tracy and I have set up a really good, it's almost like an assembly line,
Yeah.
how we do it, like we each have responsibilities that we do, and we go down the checklist, and it works out great. So
Yeah. And so what would you tell a band though, that just come to you, they've never done publicity before,
mhm.
and they've got their first single and they've got, a short little tour. I mean, what kind of advice would you give them, or how would you guide them through, the waters of publicity for them as a first timer around? Because a lot of people don't do it because, one, they don't understand it,
Mhm.
or they don't really know about it. I had a guy one time, no lie. I mean, he was going in the studio, he was spending huge money. He had big people doing Kevin Shirley,
Mhm.
doing his, who does all of Bonamassa stuff. He had him working on his album and that. And he goes, well, what's the first thing I should do? And I said, well, the first thing you should do is you need to lock in a good publicist,
Mhm.
and he's like, well, what's that?
Yeah, right.
What do they do? So how do you navigate those waters for somebody?
Yeah, it's funny, when back when I used to play in bands, I had no idea what a publicist was, like,
Yeah.
at all. So a lot of times it's like bands make the mistake of spending a great deal of money on a record and then not setting aside any kind of promotion money, and then they could have the greatest record in the world, but if nobody can hear it, I mean,
Mm.
it's kind of, I mean, there's there's no point really. I mean, other than your friends and family and stuff like that. So I really feel like it's just brings awareness. It's all just trying to get people to listen, and if they get excited about it, then it just kind of takes off. The other thing that I always say too, and Rob McDermott backs me up on this, is bands really uh, should do every interview they can do, and become friends with as many people as they can, and meet up with them at the shows and stuff like that, because those people will support them for the rest of their career,
Hmm.
and it's just important. It makes it easier, and it shouldn't be hard to do that. I mean, it's your job and it's something that you love, so you just give it your all,
Right. Well, yeah, because those people are supporting you,
hmm
right? Those are the people that are pushing your name out there and giving you all that kind of support, which without, I mean, what do you got?
right.
You really think about it. Without it, you got nothing. And you're exactly right. If you don't have those things in place, if you're not doing that, well, the only people that are going to know about it is you. It's like that guy I was telling you about. I mean, he ended up getting a publicist and he ended up charting, in his genre of music, which was good. But then the next thing is that what do you do with that information,
hmm
right? All the hard work that you put into it, getting them the photos and the videos and the press and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the band needs to take that and
right.
utilize it in any fashion that they can in
Right.
order to just milk every little ounce out of it so that it doesn't,
Yeah,
so
I
it's
mean
not like
it.
I just spent $40,000 for this huge thing. It's not that
uh
much, I know, but
Yeah, right.
I just spent all this money doing this and what do I get?
Yeah,
Okay, I charted. So what?
yeah, right, right. I guess
Who
it,
doesn't?
it it usually it just depends what the band's goals are too. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, you know, uh, what we do, we recap everything for people and we put it on a Word doc where all the links exist. So if they're trying to like go for I mean, if they just need to send examples to people, they have it all right there.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to do with press an EPK, uh, uh, electronic press kit. I should probably say that for anybody listening, where it just uh, makes it easy for people to look at things, because people are inherently lazy when it comes to, I mean, a lot of times, like, I'll click on everything, but sometimes it takes a little while,
Yeah.
uh, but I just having all that stuff there, it helps, and it'll help, like, if you're going after management or booking or whatever. I mean, just having all of that there, and also at the same time, I like to spread campaigns out a little bit, so that there's through the campaign, there's something to put on social media uh, over time, as opposed to like doing it all at once and then having it done and then being done.
Yeah.
So with records, I used to do monthly stuff, but then I just decided I don't want to do that. I'd rather take my time and like get everything done, uh, and it helps the artists, and then you get to know them a lot better too. So
Yeah, yeah. Now, I know that there's a variety of different kinds of software applications out there that you can use in order to put together a really good press.
mhm.
Is there something specific that you use in order
Yeah,
to
we
keep them?
use all kinds of stuff. Mad Mimi is what we use to send out our press releases. A lot of people use MailChimp too, but
Mm.
Mad Mimi is great, and it's easy. Tracy handles all the press releases for us, and we use Holix. Are you familiar with Holix at all?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, what I like about that is it's the industry standard now. If people don't know about it, it's you can put everything in there that people need to write a review on an album. But if you were to leak it, every download has a unique watermark, so we would be able to know who the person leaked. And I've never had an album leak,
yeah,
so
yeah,
that, and then and we have some other stuff too. Like, I get hit up daily of people looking for contacts, like, because they know that if they hit me up, I'll find it.
yeah,
And we sign up to this thing called Booking Agent Info, and it has everything. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I can find, like, somebody said, oh, like, they tested me and asked if the Elton John's info was in there. Sure enough, you know, that, and we one other thing we use is called Rocket Reach. It's kind of like Muckrack, where the hard to find email contacts of, some heavy hitter writers are in there. So
Yeah,
all that, I mean, it's I wish they gave away those programs. they're
yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
expensive, but it's worth it, and it helps everybody. It helps us, it helps all the people that we work with, so it's way worth it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm the same way at the podcast, and then also having my own band. I have Gigwell, which I
Mhm.
have Holix, I Celebrity Access.
Yep.
What I mean, all
Yeah.
that crap, and yeah, when you start adding that up, you're at $1,500 a month or something like that for
Yeah,
just
I wish LinkedIn would bring their pricing down, because I would do that in a heartbeat, but
yeah,
it's so ridiculous that, you know, I suppose it's because corporations use it, like,
yeah.
that have the money for it, but I'm not I'm not paying hundreds a month for that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When I was in the corporate world, because I got out of music in 13 and I was the vice president of sales for a national company. And that's what I
Yeah,
used LinkedIn for everything because, when it comes to business, I mean, that's the standard right there. Everybody's there. I mean, that's how you
mhm,
reach everybody.
right.
But, doing this is a little bit different because some people don't want to be found.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's true too, and I respect that. Yeah, I mean, some of these people, like, uh, Chris Jericho, like,
Yeah.
I have Chris Jericho's personal email, but I'm not going to give it to anybody.
Right, right, right,
you know,
right.
same thing with Neil Sean, and
Sure.
if you want to meet them, you can just come through me, and I'll do my best.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's crazy. So, well, man, I tell you what, I appreciate you doing this, and I'm sure that people listening are going to get a better understanding of what a publicist does and what it what it takes. And I'm going to put if you'd like, I'll put your contact information at
Yeah,
the end of this
absolutely.
for bands that if they're looking for a publicist to
Yeah, all
reach
my
out to
info
you.
is at the bottom of my email signature. You can just grab it right there. There's an
Yeah.
EPK in there too. That's kind of fun. It shows a lot of bands. I should probably update it, but I haven't updated it recently. But it gives you a pretty good idea of some of the bigger bands I've worked with. So
Yeah,
um,
well, you've worked with a lot of great guys, and you've been really good to me and with me, and and I really appreciate it. I appreciate that you send me your stuff all the time, and so I get if somebody's coming through Chicago, I know,
yeah,
and I at least get an opportunity, and if I can do it,
yeah.
I can do it.
And I
And
send stuff. Not everything is necessarily a match on the guitar front, but I figure
yeah,
that's your decision, not my decision.
yeah,
So if there's something like like Dusty Grant's a great songwriter. He's I he's not a shredder, like
right,
Vi or somebody like that, but at the same time you ended up liking it a lot. So,
yeah.
so yeah, I just I send everything and let people make their own decisions.
Yeah, it seems to be the standard. That's what most everybody does because I get bombarded daily,
Yeah, right.
which I appreciate.
Yeah,
I like I say, I really appreciate it because sometimes stuff like Dusty comes across my desk and I have no idea who that is.
right. Yeah,
Never heard of him, and I'm grateful to get a chance to know who he is and listen to him in that.
I know Dusty is great because my friend Nate from Nathan from Blacktop Mojo called and he talked to him recently and he loves it.
Yeah,
And he's picky. So
yeah.
yeah, Dusty's got he's on the move. He's going to do good things, I think.
Yeah, I think he's going to do well.
Yep.
I know he just went in and did a new video
Yep.
in that, so and I've heard a couple of his other songs that, aren't out there yet,
Hmm.
and man, they're good.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. I was a little disappointed there wasn't, no guitar in them, but
Yeah.
except
If the song is good,
yeah,
yeah,
no,
that's
I
what it
know.
comes down to,
Yeah, I
um
know that.
because a lot of the like look at Green Day. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people are not crazy about them, but like three chords works
Yeah.
real well.
Yeah, a lot of people made a lot of money off them three
Yeah.
chords. A lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I appreciate you coming
Yeah.
on and doing this and
Yeah.
that, and and just keep sending me stuff, man.
Yeah, I definitely have some. I think this podcast will do great. I know a lot of people in the industry I can introduce you to too. So
Oh, well, that would be cool, man. Whatever we can do to help each other would be amazing. And I'm probably going to be reaching out to you. I got some dates. I don't start playing until uh, I've got a couple of dates this month, but I don't start really playing until July. In
okay.
that, and I was going to reach out to you about doing, some show publicity, tour
Oh yeah, I'd
publicity,
love to do that.
you know, and that I've never done nothing with the podcast Guitar Talk when it comes to that,
Mhm.
and it's really kind of crazy because I know so many people in the industry, like yourself, and at first I thought, okay, I'm gonna end up having to get a publicist. I need to start advertising,
Mhm.
and I need to do all this stuff. And man, I went from 35 listeners a month to 1.5 million listeners
Wow.
a month, never advertising, never
Wow.
promoting it outside of my own social media and website. And
Well, that's because you ask really good questions.
I don't know about that. You know what? I try to keep it. It's got to be a conversation.
Hmm.
It can't be an
Yeah.
interview. It's got
Yeah.
to be a
Absolutely.
conversation. That's what makes it fun in
Right.
that. So, but anyway, Tom, I appreciate
Yeah.
you coming on,
Yep.
and I thank you so much for all that you do, and
Yep.
I look forward to the opportunity. Where you located at?
I live in a little town in northeast Iowa called Cresco.
Iowa.
It's 10 miles from the Minnesota border. It's about two and a half
Oh,
hours south of Minneapolis. So
oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
we have two stoplights uh, and a traffic jam is an Amish buggy in the road.
Ah, yeah, ooh, them Amish.
Yeah.
Well, really cool, man. I appreciate your time
Yep.
and thank you so much, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care.
Yep. Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Tom George from Tag Publicity. You know what? You can reach out to him on social media. You can also go to tagpublicity.com to learn more, find out what it's like to work with Tom in that. And he's a great guy. I mean, super, super great guy. He loves music and he's passionate about bands and publicity. So he's the kind of guy, you know, if you get him in your corner, you're lucky. You know, it's going to help you a lot. So thank you so much for tuning in to Band Business. Join me next Thursday right here on YouTube and across all streaming platforms. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us. And I'll see you next time. I'm Jimmy Warren.